Hello, today I have the Lagom Mini. So basically, I'm just gonna unbox this and then kind of give you guys like a first impression of using it. Now, this is a really tiny grinder. Like, I am able to hold this entire box using one hand, which is pretty awesome. But basically, the reason why I picked this up, and I totally did a blind buy on this, is because I was talking to some of my friends at Pear Cup Works, and they were telling me they bought a ton of these grinders with the, I think, the 48 mil obsidian burrs, and they are using it for their training. Talking to my friend Ernesto, and I was like, dude, is this actually good? And how does this really compare to something like the niche? And he was telling me this for filter coffee is better than the niche, not surprising, but for espresso, they're probably very similar. So I was like, oh my God, I gotta get one of these. So Option-O is an Australian company. They make the Mini, P64, and P100. Really awesome guys. The guys at Option-O are really cool. So I talked to Hayden, who is one of the co-founders of Option-O, and he gave me the awesome backstory of them. And I'll probably be making a video with them in the future or talking more closely about their story, because it's just, I love it when people make cool stuff. And they obviously branched off of the company Helor, which makes the Flux. Of all the grinders they make, the Mini is probably the one that excites me the most because of what I've heard from some of my friends. And also, really, it's the price here that is very, very attractive. So the Lagom Mini here with the, I'll list all the prices here with the Mini. I've decided to get the 48 millimeter obsidian burrs, which only come in black. The quick TLDR of this grinder is that it's kind of like a fancy hand grinder that's motorized. Basically, a lot of these smaller burr sets in the conical world are actually quite amazing. The issue is that they exist in hand grinders and not a motorized grinder like this. So this is the Mini so far. I'm just gonna set this aside. Okay, this is really nice. I'll show you guys this. Definitely, if your goal is to do filter brewing, something like C40 and Easy Presso Q2 Heptagonal are pretty good choices. But essentially what this is a motorized version of some of those grinders, but it does use 48 millimeter burrs. This is what this looks like, and basically you get a power brick that is here. And what's cool, okay, cool. So this is not a three prong, so you can plug this into a ton of different things, which is awesome. And then what is this here? This looks like a dosing funnel. You know, I totally blind bought this. I do not know anything about this grinder except for it is really good. I think this is maybe a dosing cup. But I think there was some revisions between the, I think, 2019 version of this. There were some complaints about the grinder being a little bit too loud, and I believe they have solved all of that. But this is so small. Wow, look how this is really cute. So here we go. Here is the Lagom Mini, which is very small. Here we go. Look at that. That is really tiny. I got the black one. You have to get the black one if you get the 48 mil burrs, I believe. But you load it up here and in over here. So looks like you put the coffee through here. There's your burr set. And yeah, those are indeed 48 millimeter obsidian burrs. The grind size adjustment is fully stepless. This feels really good. So I have used a P64 before, and grind size adjustment on P64 is really, really strong. Like, everything feels great. And then you have your tiny little power button there. This actually feels really nice. And then you plug your grinder in back there. So yeah, this is it. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't even know if there are instructions in this, and I don't really think you need any. They're all online on their website, which is pretty awesome. Taking all of this out, and this looks like the catch cup. It is magnetic, and then so is okay, this top has a little bit of magnets here, but look at that. I'm able to carry all of this with one hand. It is stupidly light, but let me kind of quickly talk about performance, and then we'll run some coffee through here. We'll see how loud it is and all of that. A lot of those smaller conical burr sets that you find in the C40, Easy Presso Q2 Heptagonal, and Kinu are all really, really great brew burrs. So they're really great for filter coffee. They don't create a lot of fines, and people who own C40s and Kinus, and you own something like a niche, you probably are getting a way better brew out of those hand grinders. The issue is for espresso. So the espresso coming out of those is probably better than the niche, maybe, or just as good. The issue is that it's a hand grinder, so if you have something like a C40, grinding espresso, from my understanding, takes a while, and definitely you don't have the quality of life with something like an electric grinder. So I guess I'll just kind of like prop this up here on this box so you'll be able to see. Plug the Mini in here, and let's just turn it on and see what happens. That's really quiet. You can hear how fast it's spinning. The RPMs must be pretty high here. And you can clearly see the burr set inside spinning, and there's definitely this guard here, which is helpful. So I'm going to just basically run some coffee through here and see what happens. I like that this is magnetic, so this kind of just like went in and then went out. It is pretty tight fit, but I like that. 10.1 grams on the scale over here. Let's put this in here. And let's grind. That was pretty fast. And it is nice and quiet. That is actually a lot quieter than I expected. There is, of course, a little bit of static here. I don't know if you can see this, but this is probably like a, I don't know, V60 grind size, which was what, at setting 3. Pretty quiet here. I'm going to now just kind of, let me try grinding very, very fine and see what happens. I totally didn't realize this, and I've been dialing it in for espresso, is so you can actually do full stepless adjustment here. So basically, as you unscrew this here, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, as you unscrew this here, you'll see this part comes up, and then you could kind of remove the outer burr, I believe, and then you go and you could screw it all the way in. So the max you can screw in, which is, there's like literally a limit here, is a little bit past here, and this is fully locked in. So maybe that would be helpful if you needed to take the grinder around. But for espresso, I'm gonna now show you, I'm gonna grind 18 grams in, and I'm probably gonna have to go probably back here around like, I think 6 or 5. What's really cool with this grinder is Option-O. There's no weird warranty stuff like, hey, you grind for espresso, your grinder's out of warranty. Here is the grind speed and grind sound. Pretty quiet, actually. Definitely on the it's slow. It is slow. We'll say that, but that's okay. Small burr set, and you know what? The quality of coffee coming out of this thing is actually pretty good. So the grounds are nice and fluffy. You know, it's very typical espresso stuff here. You know, if you do use a dosing funnel, what you could do is you could actually grind directly in like this, like you do on the niche and other things, but you're going to be holding your portable filter there for a pretty long time. Oh, and by the way, the retention is pretty minimal. So I just poured in the coffee. So this is the kind of downside when you do these like transfers. Same thing with the niche is at the very bottom of these catch cups, sometimes clumps can form. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but basically, you just want to WDT that out, but I put in 18.2, I got 18.1 out, so pretty good. And I've ground like 200 grams of coffee through this thing so far, just to mess around with it, and it's still really clean. All this coffee here is because I'm just kind of a little bit messy, not doing the cleanest job, but so far, pretty good. Just running the grinder. The experience of grinding coffee is good, and that's something that you should consider when you purchase a coffee grinder. Running pretty standard, like a Londinium profile, and things are tasting pretty good, to be honest. But let the shot finish pulling, and then I will taste it, and I will tell you what it tastes like. Okay, so this is Black and White Classic, or the traditional from Black and White. It was, oh my god, look at how much crema there is. You know, this is a pretty standard espresso roast here. What I am tasting so far, and I will have to A/B it against the niche later on, is this is very, very similar to the niche. And it makes sense because this is also kind of a big conical burr. I have a feeling that, at least in espresso, I could get the Lagom Mini to taste exactly the same as the niche here, or very, very similar. Unless you really had them side by side, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I think if this is your first grinder, for how much this thing costs, this is really, really good. Yeah, this is a very enjoyable espresso, very standard profile. I am using a more medium roast in this specific example, and over the next few weeks, I will be testing those lighter roast coffees. Generally speaking, a lot of these smaller burst sets, especially in espresso, struggle with those lighter roast coffees. Even the niche struggles with lighter roast coffees. Pretty good texture on the tongue, but definitely not very, very clear. And I would not expect these to really do that, especially in espresso. Filter, I think this will be more clear than the niche, but the point here is that this is a really cheap grinder compared to the niche, and so far, what I am tasting is I'm getting there's a lot of similarities between this and the 63 ml Mazers in the niche. A lot of these conical burrs provide pretty similar profiles and cup, in my opinion. The thing is that this is half the price of a niche. So, you know, some people might be like, oh, well, you know, it's got a tiny motor in it, maybe that thing will burn out. But like, you could just buy 2 of these. And I don't really think that this is going to die anytime soon, especially if you're only pulling 1 to 2 shots. It just looks really nice. Like, I really like how this looks and how small it is. It really does remind me of, you know, a motorized hand grinder, although these are way bigger burrs. But I bet you this grinder will do a way better job at filter than the Flux here, because a lot of these larger Mazer burrs that you'll find in something like the Helor Flux and the niche back there, they're all more optimized for espresso. What really excites me about the Mini is its price point. So basically, for the price, I don't know if you're going to get a better grinder with such high build quality and the flexibility, like an all-around grinder that lets you do pour overs and lets you do espresso in such a small form factor. Okay, so this is day 2. I've pulled 10-ish espressos today, and I've been really experimenting between the niche and the mini just to see, like, hey, is there anything different about it? And I pulled dark roast coffees, I've been continuing to pull this black and white, the traditional, and in the dark roast, definitely am getting very enjoyable cups out of both, and they are incredibly similar. So it's just the standard conical stuff here, which is high texture, very chocolatey, and really good body and mouth feel, which is what you want in a conical burr. It's pretty hard to tell the difference between the niche and the mini, and I feel like any differences that I've tasted, at least in those dark roast coffees, is probably due to inaccuracies in prep or due to palate fatigue. I did try running a few lighter roast coffees through the grinders, and I still had a fairly difficult time telling the difference. So similar things occur in cup, which is more standard, not very clear cups. That's not bad to say. Some people may actually prefer that, where you sacrifice the clarity or you get rid of the acidity in some of these lighter roast coffees for the texture, and you 100% are getting really enjoyable texture and mouthfeel in your espressos. With the mini, it's just not very clear, but that's okay, because that's exactly what the niche does. I will need some more time, especially I want to test out filter and all of that, but I think this is worth thinking about, because, again, look at the price point. Look at how expensive the mini is compared to the niche. You know, you can buy 2 of these, and you could just have one setup for filter. I have had one filter brew out of the mini, and I thought it was quite enjoyable, but I didn't A/B it against anything. But I'm just thinking, it's like, wow, I could have a mini setup for espresso and have a mini setup for filter. That's basically the same footprint as the niche. Like, look, you can carry this thing around, and I could just throw coffee in either of those grinders and get probably better filter out of this, and an espresso that is very, very similar to the niche. So those are kind of my first few impressions. I will need more time with this, but I do want you guys to think about the price point here, and that's something you should really, really consider. This is this is really good for the money, and I think this might be the best all-around grinder for under 500, maybe under 700. I'm going to allude to my full reasonings as to why I think this is such a great all-around grinder, but really it's down to the fact that you're getting incredibly high performance, incredibly great build quality, as well as you get a company that actually exists and cares about you as a customer, and it's very difficult to find all three of those at a pretty good price point. So that's something to consider, but that's all I wanted to talk about today. First impressions of the Mini. You see me unbox it, try it out, and then this is kind of the day 2 wrap up of it. But thank you for spending the time to watch the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I do need at least a few more weeks with this thing to try out, but so far I am very impressed. Yeah, it's good. That's all. Thank you for spending time watching the video. See you around.